Darkcast Network, indie pods with a dark side.
Welcome to Creepy Tapas,
where we do the opposite of deep dives and bring you tiny tastes of terror connected by a common ingredient.
True stories to haunt and chill you and the pop culture they inspired.
Or at least the movies and books that remind us of them.
Join us as we descend into darkness,
beginning with the lighter side of our weekly topic,
and wrapping with a full dark, no stars account of terror, madness, murder, and more. It's Creepy Tapas, y'all.
If you like weird, spooky, and strange history, then I have the podcast for you. My name is Brenda, and I'm the host of Horrifying History. Are you into the dark side of history? Horrifying History tells you about the side of history that people don't normally talk about. We tell the tales of haunted places, infamous true crimes, the paranormal, and unsolved mysteries, and then we look to history to see where the truth actually lies. Want to get spooky with us? Get your Horrifying History fix by subscribing today on your favorite podcast provider or by going to our website at horrifyinghistory.podbean.com.
What's up, creeps? Sup, creeps? What's up, creeps? Happy St. Patty's Day. Sup, creeps? Sup, creeps? All right, creeps. What's up, creeps? Welcome to 2023, and we're starting it off with a very intense episode. Welcome back to Creepy Confidential. I'm your host, Noelle, your resident weirdo Wisconsinite. I open case files on my favorite cryptids, cults, conspiracies, and other worldly creepy. Bringing you new cases, live broadcasts, local lore, and in Season 2, we bring you the Cult of the Month. So get ready, creeps. It's Season 2 of Creepy Confidential. Warning, this episode is intended for mature audiences. It contains graphic descriptions of crime scenes, mass suicide, and cult behavior.
The videotape discovered and observed, the information obtained from sources, all indicate that this was a voluntary situation. They ingested the drugs on their own. They may or may not have been influenced, but we'll never know that. But at this point, this is considered a mass suicide investigation.
March 26, 1997, 3:15 p.m. San Diego 911 receives an anonymous tip. This individual is stating that they are reporting a mass suicide and that they can provide the address. A lone deputy arrives in Rancho Santa Fe, California at a quiet mansion in a gated community. 18241 Colina Norte. A pungent odor greets his olfactory senses. He opens a door he was informed would be left unlocked. His unassisted walkthrough finds no survivors. He goes from room to room, finding body after body. The remains are starting to undergo early stages of decomposition due to the warm spring of the California season. Every individual was positioned and draped in a ritualistic manner. Their matching black Nike trainers visual in a purple cloth over their heads and torsos. 39 bodies would be found. Each member wore an individual embroidered triangular patch sewn onto the arm of their matching uniforms, a black patch depicting cascading stars and words that read, "Heaven's Gate Away Team." A man in a biohazard suit can be seen walking from room to room with bodies in black tracksuits laid neatly in beds with purple shrouds draped over them, perfectly tucked in. Days prior, members filmed their exit interviews, allowing them to give any closing words before their departure. Now, this is where I really discovered how Marshall was able to get them. You can see doubt, low confidence. They all kind of have that slouchy, darting, it's unsure is what I'm looking for. And they all have that little bit of odd about them that society, I'm sure, had something to say about. 39 members took a little under 2 hours to sign out. Uniforms were donned, small bags were packed, a $5 bill and 3/4 were placed into their pockets. Packages mailed out to the elite few containing the exit interviews and Doe's final message. Everything kicked off starting between the estimated dates of March 22nd to the 26th. 3 groups. They didn't all die at the same time. Groups of 15, 15, and then 9. 15 begin by stirring a large dose of phenobarbital into their pudding or applesauce, followed by a vodka beverage chaser. They are laid in their beds with a plastic bag placed over their head to induce asphyxia. After they have passed, the bag is removed, they are positioned, and a purple shroud is placed over their heads. The second 15 repeats the same process. For the last group, 7 members, including Applewhite, are aided through the process. The last 2 members are found in their beds with their bags still over their head and no purple shroud. March 25th, one of the trusted, Rio D'Angelo, receives their package containing the VHS tapes with a message from Applewhite that they have left their vehicles. He gets in a cab and takes a trip to California. He arrives at the residence in Rancho and opens the door that he was informed would be left unlocked. D'Angelo records a non-verbal walkthrough to record his findings. Remember that anonymous phone call I mentioned in the beginning? It was D'Angelo. Following the discovery, the families were contacted, autopsies performed on every body, and the family given the choice to have their body of their family member shipped or to have them cremated and the ashes shipped to them. Either way, the loved one they had missed had no contact with them and never given the chance of closure to see them alive one more time, left with nothing but questions and heartache. Warning, the following episode contains descriptions of martyrdom, ritualistic behavior, and sex. Happy Valentine's Day! February 14th, the Feast of St. Valentine, or more simply, Valentine's Day. As this day approaches, we begin to see everything blossom into an explosion of red, hearts, valentines, and candy. A day of love, embracing, and for most of age warm-blooded individuals, a time for a little extra special 2-person tango. Candy stores, jewelry stores, and restaurants prepare for the day in hopes of raking in the cash at the expense of all of us lovegoers. But where did this lovely holiday start? How did we arrive at the candy hearts and teddies? Turns out, martyrdom. Of not one, but 2 saints on February 14th, all within the same century, and of course, sacrifices, fertility rituals, and let us not forget a sex lottery. Oh my. Sup Creeps, welcome back. This time we're going to be discussing the creepy history of an approaching holiday, Valentine's Day. Of course, all of us know Valentine's Day as that lovey-dovey time of year where all of us try and get a little more kissy face with each other, or, generally just showing the love. Now, the thing is this particular holiday, while it's vast amounts of red and hearts and smoochy faces, is actually deep-rooted in the beginnings of a very dark history. So let's talk about the creepy history of Valentine's Day. September 19th, 1961, Lancaster, New Hampshire. Barney and Betty Hill are returning from their honeymoon in Niagara Falls, traveling back to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They changed their plans in an attempt to outrun a hurricane that was supposedly headed north toward their part of the coast. Betty notices a bright light outside her window in the night sky. However, she's a little perplexed noticing the light is moving erratically and in an upward position. Concerned that it is growing bigger and brighter, she urges Barney to stop the car to get a closer look and to let their dachshund Delcy get a little break. Barney pulls over at a scenic point just south of Twin Mountain.
Grabbing the binoculars, she sees an odd-shaped craft with flashing, multicolored lights as it travels over the moon. Her sister had mentioned she had seen a flying saucer, and Betty ponders if that's what she's seen. Handing Barney the binoculars, he observes what he believes is a commercial airline on its way to Montreal. Soon his mind is changed as the craft rapidly descends in his direction. They quickly return to the car and drive towards Franconia Notch, a more mountainous stretch of the road. They continue slowly down the isolated road in an attempt to observe the craft's movement. The craft appears to be nearly 40 feet long and rotating. Approximately 1 mile from Indian Head, the craft rapidly advances towards their car. This causes Barney to come to a quick stop in the middle of the highway. The large craft hovers 80 feet above their 1957 Chevy Bel Air, filling the entire view of their windshield. Armed with his pistol at his side, he steps out of the car and looks up using his binoculars. He sees 8 to 11 humanoid figures looking out the large windows of the craft. All but one figure moves to an exit of the craft. One communicates a message to Barney. Stay where you are and keep looking. He sees the figures wearing black glossy uniforms and caps. Red lights on possible wings of the craft start to telescope outwards, and a long structure lowers from the bottom of the craft. He feels that these beings are not human. Barney tears the binoculars from his eyes and runs back to the car. And he tells Betty they're going to capture us. The hovering craft shifts to directly above the vehicle. Barney hits the gas and drives away as fast as he could, while Betty looks for the object out the window. Loud, rhythmic beeping and buzzing sounds begin to emit from the craft. The car begins to vibrate, and a tingling sensation passes through their bodies. Their minds enter an altered state, and their minds are suddenly dulled. A short time later, a second series of beeps and buzzing returns them to their consciousness. They realize that they have traveled 35 miles south and have no idea how they got there. They return home just after dawn. Barney realizes what time it is and how long it should have taken them to get home. He realizes that they're missing time. 2 hours to be exact. Why did they feel so strange? And why was Betty's dress torn?
What's up, creeps? Welcome to Creepy Confidential After Dark. I want to welcome our guest today. We have Creepy Tapas is here with us. And today we're going to talk about creepy dolls. But Creepy Tapas, tell us about yourself. Welcome to Creepy Confidential.
Hey guys, my name is Ash. I am one of the co-hosts of Creepy Tapas. Me and my best friend Jordan have a show where we serve up tiny tastes of terror once a week. Sometimes it's true crime. Sometimes it's a cryptid. Sometimes it's just something weird and bizarre, like the many times animals have fallen from the sky.
I like it.
Yeah, like all kinds of weird stuff, right?
We like weird. We like creepy.
Yeah. We even our Thanksgiving episode last year was cannibalism, just to give you an idea of our vibe.
Of course, in the world, many haunted and cursed objects. There is a doll who is to us in the modern day known as Robert the Doll. And he has this long, lengthy history. We'll give you the shorter version of a child that became obsessed with him and gave him his name, and shenanigans ensued. So I think Chucky, same thing. Child comes to life, or the doll comes to life, starts causing problems. The child's like, the doll did it. And it just goes, this just happens through time. This poor, first of all, I would say this poor dude, because Eugene was the child's name. And it seems like did he just not have enough friends where he felt that he became obsessed with Robert? I know it sounds like he was kind of a needy kid. And I just couldn't, I don't know, maybe it was the time. If I had an inanimate object in my house and it started causing it wouldn't go in a box upstairs.
No.
That thing would get hasta la pasta, shredder, mixed shredder, fire,
burn it,
holy water, goodbye. That sort of situation. And if it's modern day, same thing. It's
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's going in the dumpster.
Yeah, 100% getting rid of it. I guess you and I don't make very good stars of horror movies.
Right. Yeah. Don't run up the stairs. Don't go in a closet. What are you doing?
Put the
Yeah.
haunted doll in the incinerator. These are easy,
No.
simple rules of survival, guys.
Yeah. Easy. Just like all those documents you don't want seen. Done.
Despite being cursed by Robert, and I do believe that I was cursed by Robert. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like that
So the
doll
the
cursed me.
story that I grasp is that you were in Key West, right?
Mhm. Yes.
You went to said location
Mhm.
and
Yep.
you were with a significant other at the time.
Yes,
And then tell us
it was
what
our
happened.
honeymoon. It was our
Oh,
honeymoon.
that's a perfectly romantic location.
It was awesome.
Honey,
Yeah, we go to Key
let's
West.
go to a creepy doll.
And well, okay, to give you an idea of the sort of wedding that
Maybe
we
the
had.
dynamic is different.
Yeah, so Leatherface cut our red velvet wedding cake with a chainsaw.
See,
And
now it makes more sense. You
splattered-
should have led with that.
I looked at him and I was at Robert and I was like, I'm so sorry. Can I take a photo with you? Because it says that you have to ask first.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise, you get cursed.
Right. Well, I didn't know what you're supposed to really look for as far as permission.
Today we're going to be talking about the curse of Rudolph Valentino's ring. So grab a cup of coffee. It's polished silver. If you look at the pictures, it does look a little gold, but it does look to be silver. And it has a domed tiger's eye stone in the center. Now, several pictures are seen of Valentino following this purchase, and he's wearing it all the time. Rudolph Valentino had everything the world desired. Exotic flair, born in Italy, and oozed passion from his smoldering eyes. He warned Valentino that disaster had come to all of its previous owners. Now, in 1926, August 15th, while at his hotel in Manhattan, Valentino collapses. He was taken to the hospital and diagnosed with appendicitis and taken to surgery. Now, he had perforated ulcers, which mimic appendicitis. His diagnosis would eventually be called Valentino syndrome. So what he has actually they discovered in Valentino. And 8 days later, on the 23rd, he would fall into a coma and pass at the age of 31. At the time of his death, the world media would just whip into a frenzy, and the funeral became more of a spectacle. His lover, Pola Negri, insisted that they had been engaged and sent 1,000 red and white roses to his funeral. She was given the option to have anything from his estate. She chose the ring. But where did the ring go? She decided to pass the ring to a young singer named Russ Colombo, who reminded her of Valentino. A few days later, Colombo was accidentally shot and killed by his best friend, Joe Casino. Destiny ring body count, number 2. Now, Joe Casino knew that the ring was cursed. However, one day he just couldn't help it and decided to take the ring out. And it was on that day that he was killed in a car accident after another truck hit his vehicle. Body count number 3. So now the ring falls into the hands of Del Casino, Joe's brother. He didn't believe the curse and kept the ring on display. However, a burglar broke in, stole the ring, and the thief was shot by police while trying to escape. And wouldn't you know, guess what was in his pocket? The ring. Body count number 4. So Del was convinced of the curse following this incident and kept the ring locked away until 1938, where an ice skater, I believe he was an ice skater named Jack Dunn, he was preparing for the audition to play Valentino in a biopic of his life and asked Del if he could borrow the ring and some of Valentino's clothes for the screen test. Jack Dunn would be dead 10 days later of a blood disease he had somehow contracted following hunting with rabbits. Body count number 5. Sup Creeps, welcome back. Today we are dipping into the world of the paranormal. Full disclosure, I have been officially investigating the paranormal since 2008, but I've been infatuated with spooks, specters, and ghosts since the day I saw the original Ghostbusters back when I was a wee little creep. Our paranormal team was started by myself and a few colleagues of mine from the veterinary world. I've mentioned that before. We called ourselves GIGS, Girls Investigating Ghosts and the Supernatural. We traveled around the Pacific Northwest with one of our most notable locations being Starvation Heights in Olalla, Washington, which is an episode you might recognize previously here on Creepy Confidential. Now, I'm not the touchy-feely type of investigator. I believe in science when it comes to trying to prove the existence of spirits and the paranormal. When investigating, it's not a black or white opinion, though, and sometimes there are things I just can't deny. For the next few episodes and streams, our topic of choice will be these spooks, specters, and ghosts. This episode, we are going to discuss a very interesting experiment published in the May 1907 issue of the Journal of the American Society of Psychical Research. The article within the journal is called, quote, Hypothesis Concerning Soul Substance Together with Experimental Evidence of the Existence of Such Substance, by Duncan McDougall, MD. In the early days of paranormal research, I really felt the need to learn what sort of studies have been done to scientifically prove the existence of something within ourselves that could create a ghost or spirit. I really feel that if you're going to be a paranormal investigator, you need to know the building blocks and those who have come before you to try and do what you're doing. The Edwardian era, in my opinion, is really where things started to take off within the world of spiritualism. There were pieces of truth within things like table tipping, seances, and the crazy phenomenon of photographing ectoplasm, which we will get to in another episode. By knowing what people did back then during this sensationalism of spiritualism, one of the first things I came across was the 21 grams experiment. While the experiment itself is not exactly some huge study done over a long period of time with a huge sample size, it is a doctor trying to prove the existence of a soul.
What's up, creeps? Welcome to Creepy Confidential After Dark. Horse, no script, no rules. We're just here to hang out with fellow creeps. Today we welcome Brenda of Horrifying History. Brenda, welcome to Creepy Confidential.
Well, thanks for having me.
Very, very stoked. So Miss Brenda and I have been working on this little cool Halloween collaboration, and it was awesome.
We're both part of a podcast network called Darkcast Network. Mm-hmm. And someone went and decided to put her name in to see, and I actually am in charge of their talent, listening to the show, see what works. And as soon as I started listening to Creepy Confidential, I was hooked. The reality of it is what he did doesn't even describe creepy, horrible. There's not a word to describe this guy. Yeah. And
at least I'll say, at least in your case, she was killed from a black widow. It was outside of her control.
She couldn't control the spider. Spiders
couldn't control it. No one did that. That was something that happened. But the fact that now she is forever trapped,
stuck in a window,
is but there's something gallivanting there that is pretending to be something worse than what it is, because it tries, like I say it, because I'm not sure. It calls you all the, slut and whore and all these nasty words.
Just trying to trigger you.
But then when you ask, who they are, it's like they just keep throwing poop at the wall and seeing if it makes you scared, if it makes you go away. So then I will say that it's more like, I don't think you are who you are. Like it actually, so Ghost Dog says, I told the wife to make me swallow a small silver pill when I die, and it has a tiny scroll in it. So when the autopsy they open it when you've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
But just because you're dead and upset right now doesn't mean you can break my $80 hole puncher.
But I had my heart cat. I call him my heart cat. He's my boy, and it was like after he passed, you could feel him jump up onto the bed. And I wasn't the only one, because Mike would be laying next to me and he'd be like, did you feel, and he'd look up like, wait a minute, Davidson's gone. Like he's not here. but he was a big boy. So when he got on the bed, it was like, you could feel it. It was like, oh Lord, he coming. Like he was a big boy. And but you don't hear of them very often.
No,
I think
you don't.
After a while, I do think they move on. Like I haven't felt Davidson in a long time. You know, we've adopted 2 other ones in the meantime. And it's like, I think they just don't have all the, you know, what is that? Like when we're here, we have all the baggage. Excellent word.
Humans have the baggage.
We hang on to every single little thing. Yeah. So anybody who's checked out or listening, if you are watching this on the replay, I ask that you leave a little skull in the comments so we know that you've stopped by to check us out. All of Brenda's horrifying history information I have left down in the comment section, places that you can check her out. I like her Instagram because then that's an easy way to follow everything, which will take you to all of her things. But I've left more than just that down there. And Brenda, thank you for joining me here on Creepy Confidential After Dark. Taken, I would say, a little of your time, but I've taken quite a bit of your time. So thank you.
It's just fun. So thank you again for having me.
Not a problem. So creeps, stay tuned. We'll give you lots more creepy content. And again, thank you, Brenda, for joining us, and catch us next time here on Creepy Confidential After Dark.
Bye.
Bye, kids.
Between the good and evil beings of all mythologies, there is often one whose qualities are mixed. Not wholly good nor entirely evil, but balanced between the two. Sometimes doing a generous action, then descending to a petty meanness, but never rising to nobility of character nor sinking to the depths of depravity. Good from whim and mischievous from caprice. Such a being is the leprechaun of Ireland, a relic of the pagan mythology of that country. By birth, the leprechaun is of low descent, his father being an evil spirit and his mother a degenerate fairy. By nature, he is a mischief maker, the Puck of the Emerald Isle. He is of diminutive size, about 3 feet high, and is dressed in a little red jacket or a roundabout, with red breeches buckled at the knee, gray or black stockings, and a hat cocked in the style of a century ago over a little, old, withered face. Round his neck is an Elizabethan ruff, and his frills of lace are at his wrists. On the wild west coast, where the Atlantic winds bring almost constant rains, he dispenses with ruff and frills, and wears a frieze overcoat over his pretty red suit, so that unless on the lookout for the cocked hat, ye might pass a leprechaun on the road and never know it's himself that's in it at all. D.R. McAnally, Irish Wonders, 1888. What's up, creeps? Happy St. Patty's Day. As you prepare your recipe for corned beef and cabbage, soda bread, and your favorite pint, let's dive into one of the most well-known icons of St. Patrick's Day, leprechauns.
Mr. Trevor Jensen of What Goes Bump in the Night.
Oh, I'm so happy to be back.
So I recently saw you guys released. Now, first of all, Riley is not here right now.
Mhm.
Perhaps he will join us. If not, we are here in his memory. We will talk, we'll talk about him later.
Oh, bless his soul. Poor boy. He's missing a banger, is all I gotta say.
Right. This one was at Nunica Cemetery, right?
Mm.
And first of all, I want to start off about talking about the mustaches. You guys, we're going to dive right into the reason why we're here. And that is Tommy Tombstone's mustache.
It's electric.
It's like its own, it's like him and the mustache.
He is the mustache.
Entities. Yeah. He brings it to
like
life.
That's what I'm saying. I always tell Riley all the time where it's like, if Tommy shaves that off, like, I don't know if I'll be able to look at him ever again the same. Like, no. We're all rocking mustaches just because why not?
hey, maybe that helped because it seems like you guys had quite a bit of mojo going, which
Some weird stuff happened.
some weird stuff was happening. And I really
Have you heard the really cool theory, but it's also not cool for haunted stuff, that with all of the urbanization and the electrical fields that people themselves are putting out there, say like transforming boxes or industrial complexes where there gigawatts of power are coming out of them. What if that's acting as a deterrent more than it is a battery source or something for these spirits? So like it's pushing spirits away from like, or we're getting
It's
less
like-
reaction because of it.
it's like hot wire for spirits, you know,
Yeah.
like they put on barns and things like that. Like it hurts.
Yeah, it's almost like magnets too. Like what happens when you have two extremely powerful sources next to each other?
And they're
just
both
gonna push away.
positive. There's no way though that this many weirdos and goths are this good at regurgitating script.
No,
There's
there's
no
no
way.
way. There's no
I-
way.
like,
First
that's
time
what
that I
makes
had
me-
to try to do it was way too hard.
You should hear me. I mean, you recorded, but you should. I have so many bibble babble in between, cussing at myself, re-recording. There's no way that. Yes. Oh my God, cuss words, yelling at the cats. Like it's just not possible that they sound that they have their story perfect.
No, I
and
think
it's
I have a
almost-
stroke when I try to read fucking stories on our podcast. I'll be like, "Ugh, hold on, rewind like 2 sentences. Let's
Yeah.
start over.
Yeah. And again,
And here we go. Jump back into the imagination copter.
if you're in the room and it feels so like white noise and there's
Yeah.
nothing there, like part of me is like, it's going to happen. Like you're waiting to hit the lottery.
It's
and
like
then
tuning
you
forks.
stay
You
there
have to
forever.
find the right frequency, and maybe that room is like just it's not the right frequency in there.
Yes. Or I feel like back in the day when you used to have like bunny ears and a piece of tin foil to like,
Yeah,
like
I actually am old enough to know how to do
Yeah.
that.
I've been in some places, the minute you walk in the front door, you're like, I don't like this house. And I'm
Yeah.
not that kind of touchy-feely person. I'm just like, I don't like this building. And then you walk in, you're like, they made everything up. This place isn't haunted. I've seen footage and I've heard video footage because they used to do a lot of audio recording.
Yeah.
And part of me is wondering, like, is this an act? Is this all just an act?
They've been really over glorified in the recent years because there's been a lot of people that have come forward and been like, yeah, they might have like been paranormal investigators, but like
right.
to what means, like they might be blowing out of proportion on like how real it like they made everything or like what their accounts of things were. So it's like, oh, I don't know now.
Key West, Florida, United States of America. A young man sits in a small wooden chair. He wears a slightly oversized weathered white sailor outfit, adorned with embroidered pale blue anchors, and on his arm is a bright red petty officer ranking insignia. A classic sailor Dixie cup cover adorns his head with a small amount of his blonde hair peeking out near the brim. His face is worn, covered in small brown scar-like nicks. His tiny nose, beady eyes, and a slight smirking grin are on his face. In this little boy's lap sits his petite companion. A little tan, short-haired canine sits with an excited expression on his face, with an open mouth, perhaps panting in excitement. Robert is not a normal young man. He lives behind UV filtering glass in a humidity-controlled room. He's caused car accidents, broken bones, job loss, divorce, and a cornucopia of various misfortunes. He's 118 years old and isn't made of flesh and bone, but rather fabric, foam, and canvas. Robert the Doll is one of the most infamous cursed objects in the United States and isn't alive at all. Or is he?
Today we are talking about the most cursed doll, if not one of the most cursed objects in the United States and quite possibly the world. just diving into this story puts us all at risk of his potential wrath. I'm talking about Robert the Doll. Now, this little guy has it all. He's allegedly talked, walked, cursed, and inspired one of the biggest horror movie franchises to date, Child's Play. That's right, creeps. Chucky is directly inspired by Robert the Doll.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho! Ha ha ha!